Okay, what's up, everybody? This is Tom Taylor with South China Morning Post, SCMP MMA. Joined today by Jackie Buntan, who will soon challenge for the inaugural strawweight Muay Thai title. Jackie, you've got a title shot coming up. How does that feel? How does that sound?
I love the sound of it. It feels even better, we're not the ones to take shortcuts, especially here at Boxing Work. So I was willing to put in as many fights as I had to get to this point. So I'm ready. I'm hungry for it.
Amazing. This was just announced recently, like in the last couple of weeks, but I'm guessing you knew about this opportunity for a little longer than the rest of us did. I mean, how long has this been in the works?
It was definitely in talks even late last year, like December, and it wasn't officially solidified until I'd say end of February.
Right, right. So, what was the reaction when you got this offer? I'm guessing you were pretty excited, eh?
Oh, I was so stoked for it. Like I said, it's just not just obtaining the physical belt, but just knowing that I could get to this level and, compete at this level. I was just ecstatic that the promotion and Chatri had belief in me to be a challenger for it.
So the opponent is Smilla Sundell. People are pretty high on her. Like it seems like people, expect big things from her. But you're the one that has to fight her. What do you think of her?
Yeah, she's a young fighter. She's very tenacious. She has solid technique. I'm just confident she hasn't dealt or fought anyone with my style, my power, my speed. I really do believe she's gonna be in for a big surprise when we meet in the circle.
hmm as you said, she is a young fighter. I think she's still only 17. May have turned 18 since her debut. I'm not sure, but that is very young for any fighter. Do you think that's kind of could be a factor in this fight, just that she is so young and this is such a big opportunity?
I think in terms of having resilience, being tenacious, yes, but age is just a number. Whether you're a lot older or a lot younger, it's a matter of who wants it most and who's trained for it most. I don't think it's an issue at all.
And how about her skills? Just like looking at her game, is there anything she does that really impresses you, or any vulnerabilities that you see in her game?
Yeah, and to be honest, I haven't really watched much of her last fights. I've seen her debut fight in one, and it was clear she made a statement. She's just a come forward type of fighter, super aggressive, and that was what we noticed right off the bat. But in terms of dealing with that pressure, nothing else surprised me off of her.
How important is tape study for you as a fighter? Are you the kind of fighter who usually studies a lot of fights, or do you just kind of get in there and and it's all about you?
I study fights. I definitely don't study as much fights as my coach Brian Popejoy. He's the master of tape study, and I pretty much leave it to him. Like I definitely will watch one fight of my opponent, the most recent, if anything, and then that's it. I don't. I think I get too much in my head if I keep fixating and studying it. So I leave all of that to him, and he's a wizard at that stuff, and is just able to break down every single detail. Some details you don't even see. You have to play in slow mo, but I leave that all up to him, and I really think that's the biggest factor as to why he's the best.
I totally get that. I would be prone to a lot of overthinking. I think if I was studying tape.
Yeah.
So how about you? I mean, what are your advantages in this fight? Where do you think you're going to be at your best in this one?
I think my adaptability as a fighter, I know you guys being in one championship, everyone loves seeing me box and love my hands, but like, starting as an amateur fighter, that wasn't the case. I was super uncomfortable throwing hands, and now that's my main weapon. It's like I think my adaptability, my technicality, my speed, my power, I think all of it.
And you do have like an obvious edge in big stage experience. We've talked about her age, but you've just been around longer than she has. You've fought for one championship more. You're going to be more familiar with that cage. Do you see that being a factor in this one?
Um, Not really, to be honest. I think, she's made her rounds in the circuit in Thailand. I don't know if she's fought in the cage besides her debut, but and I don't think it would be an issue or an advantage to my end, really.
hmm So, who have you been working with for this one? I know obviously you work quite closely with Janet Todd fairly often. Has she been helping you? Anybody else that you've been picking their brain?
Yeah, Janet, I'm super fortunate for the teammates I have here, but always work with Janet, but does have a height advantage over me, so I've been working with the taller people at my gym who have the similar height advantage, if not taller, just so I can work those reps of, uh, working with somebody taller than me as opposed to Janet, who's my height.
Right. What's it like? I mean, just expanding on your work with Janet. I mean, it must be it's so cool to have someone of her caliber in the gym. You're both in the same organization, kind of going through the same experience. How valuable is it for the two of you to be able to work together so closely?
Oh, I think it's super valuable. Like I really cherish our relationship, in and out of the gym, just because we push each other, we bring the best out of each other. And I
Mhm.
think that's how we get better every time.
Cool, cool. This is so kind of coming together. This card, it's looking like it could be a pretty big one. I think after 1X, people were expecting the next few to be a little, lower profile, but they've announced obviously these two title fights. We've got Buchecha on the bill now. He's a big deal. Jared Brooks. There's going to be a lot of eyes on this card. I mean, what is it? I mean, does it feel like kind of an awesome opportunity for you here to be fighting for this title on a card that should get a lot of attention?
Yeah, definitely. I think just fighting for one championship in itself is always just a great opportunity, especially coming from the amateur circuit here in Los Angeles. It's nothing against it, but like, I'd be fighting tournaments or fighting in hotels, casinos, but that's where you got to start if you're doing it correctly. You can't make shortcuts to get to greatness. So I'm every time I get to fly out to Singapore and compete for that, super ecstatic, really grateful for it.
Hmm. And obviously you have like, a pretty significant fan base already. You're a very popular young fighter, but are you sort of looking at this as like your coming out party, your chance to really introduce yourself to the larger combat sports world?
Yes and no. I mean, I like to keep my mentality mindset with, specifics, and I'm super grateful for the fan base, but going into every fight, I'm not thinking to perform for them. It's really to perform for myself. I know I need to have a better performance than my last performance. And I think by doing that, people hone in and appreciate it and love it. So I think it works out that way.
Definitely. Obviously a belt on the line in this fight, not the same belt that you were looking at a couple of months ago. One just unveiled a brand new championship belt. It's gigantic. It's the size of an extra large pizza.
Yeah.
I actually saw it in person last week. What do you think of the new design?
Oh, it is a beautiful belt. It just, makes me even more motivated to bring that belt home and hopefully not get charged with an over fee since it's like almost 30 pounds.
Yeah, you might want to bring like a second suitcase or something for that one, eh?
Yeah.
So if you, I don't know, if you visualize that moment that the fight goes your way, presumably, and Chatri's wrapping that belt around your waist after everything you've been through, I mean, what is that moment going to feel like for you?
I honestly don't even know. Like, I think it would be a flood of emotions because this isn't something I visualized for just a 2-month fight camp. This is ever since I was a little girl. That was all the hard days, all the good days. This is years in the making. Ever since I started, like 13 years ago. So I just expect a flood of emotions. You might see me tear up. I tear up thinking about it because I visualize it so damn much and for so long, and it's just crazy that I get the opportunity to make it happen.
Awesome. If have you given any thought to like what's next for you? Have you kind of sized up the potential challenger should you become the champion?
I I always like to live in the present and think one step at a time, especially with fighting. But yeah, I think I have a solid division and roster of girls, and most of them haven't even fought recently. So I'm excited to just see, especially with the strawweight division being fairly new. I'm excited to see how the rankings start once they start putting rankings out for our division and see where every athlete starts off.
There seems to be sort of like two schools of thought on that. There's like the fighters who just sort of focus on themselves and don't pay any attention to what anyone else is doing and just, focus on the fights. And then they're the other ones who sort of like study the opposition and make sure they watch everybody else's fights. I mean, which party would you say you fit into there?
Definitely, 100%. Just worry about myself. Like, if there's a girl in my division who fights, I'll definitely watch that fight, but I'm not fixated on it and, studying it right away. It's more so just to get an idea. Like, I'm just curious, how's it going to happen? How's it going to play out? But I definitely worry and focus on myself just because if I don't and my mind's not present, everything goes south.
That sounds like a pretty wise strategy. As you said, this division is really coming together. It's getting pretty stacked. But we have seen a lot of fighters in one championship drifting between Muay Thai and kickboxing, and vice versa. Is that something that you'd be interested in doing at some point, particularly if you win this title?
Yeah, I'd love to make a circuit in kickboxing. I know they just had their first strawweight kickboxing bout maybe last month. But yeah, I mean, I totally dabble in the strawweight kickboxing division.
So like champ status is a possibility for you at
Oh,
some
that's
point.
the goal, just like same with Janet. She's trying to get that Muay Thai belt. So she has one now. I mean, I'd love to follow in the same footsteps.
Cool, cool. One championship is teasing a new U.S. TV deal. This has sort of been in the works for a long time, and it sounds like there's an announcement, that we can expect pretty imminently. What would it mean for you, an American fighter to be able to fight on prime time in the United States? Is that something that interests you?
Oh, it interests me big time. I think that'd be an amazing opportunity and just such a cool opportunity. It's like I know our fights are televised on TV, but I think it's different when it's televised on a big on a big, what's the word, station or
Platform. Yeah.
whatever in your home country, in your hometown, where I'm from, born and raised here in California, Los Angeles. So I think it'd be amazing to have that familiarity and that little thing to relate to with the American fans and my friends and family here at home.
Definitely. And expanding on that, one has been talking about actually promoting an event on US soil for a long time. And last I spoke to Chatri, it sounds like that could happen this year. And you got to assume if that does happen, they're going to be stacking the deck with every American champion they have. And, it sounds like you could be one of those very soon. What would it mean to you to fight on US soil, as a one championship fighter?
Oh man, I mean, that's definitely what I've been hoping for a long time is for one championship to start coming here to the US. I think they have the market for it. They have the interest for it. It would mean a whole lot to me. I get nervous having friends and family come to my fights, but it also motivates you. And I know my friends and family love seeing me fight. So one championship, make the move. Let's go. I'm ready for that.
Mhm. I know you like fighting in Singapore and whatnot, but I was just in Singapore for this one X event, and the trip there just took me down, and I'm still struggling with the jet lag on the way back. I can't imagine having to fight somebody while I'm dealing with this. Like, how
Yeah.
difficult is it for you to deal with the international travel as a fighter?
I to be honest, my debut fight when I fought the first time for one, I was so worried about that. But I was like, okay, they fly us out a week, I can acclimate. But all my fights, all the times I've been there, I was very quick to adjust to the time zone going to Singapore. It wasn't until coming back home in LA that's where it really messed me up. Like the last time I fought in September was the longest I've had jet lag. I was jet lagged for like a week and a half when I got back home. So it's more so of a struggle coming home, which I would prefer.
Yeah, definitely. I get that. The return trip always seems to be harder. Obviously, the U.S. would be a very cool place to fight for you. Is there anywhere else like on the bucket list that you'd like to fight? Anywhere in the world?
Yeah, I mean, before COVID, of course, one championship was having fights all throughout Asia. I'd love to be on a Manila card in the Philippines. I'm Filipino blood. I haven't been to the
Mhm.
Philippines yet, but I have a ton of family there, and I know I have a ton of fans there. So I'd love to fight out in the Philippines. That'd be awesome.
Well, Chatri was actually just saying that one championship is kind of looking to get back, expand a little bit outside Singapore over the next couple of months, and he named specifically Manila and Bangkok. So you may be in luck there. That would be
Oh,
a
there we
very
go.
cool one. Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, I know you're a busy person. I was told to keep this fairly brief with you, so let's wrap things up here. First priority before any potential fights in the states or Manila is this fight in Singapore with Smilla. Prediction for this one? Any particular way you see it going?
I see it going with my hand in the air and a belt on my shoulder,
And maybe some tears streaming down your
and
face.
some tears streaming down my face. We'll see.
Cool, cool. Well, if that's the way it goes, I mean, what does the perfect 2022 look like for you? Like by the end of this year, what are you hoping to have accomplished?
Of course, being a world champion, and at that, just whether it's a title defense, another fight, just doing what I love and being grateful for doing it. So in store for sure, being a world champion is it's gonna happen this year.